Now that we've introduced what FactoryTalk Remote Access is, let's do a demonstration. To do this demonstration, I'm going to use the demo wall that we have in the Reynolds Company's New Orleans office. This is a picture of that demo wall where we have various automation devices installed, such as the control logics, compact logics, micro 800, and some Stratix switches, amongst some other various Ethernet connected devices. To enable this demonstration, we have a awesome 6300P industrial panel PC installed on our demo wall. So in this demonstration, we will make a remote access connection from FactoryTalk Hub directly to that awesome 6300P panel PC. So to do that, we're going to start here in FactoryTalk Hub. And when you first log into FactoryTalk Hub, you'll find various cards with the various pieces of the hub. For this demonstration, we're going to click on Remote Access. When we do that, we will come to the Remote Access tab or open up the Remote Access viewer and be able to make our connections to our remote devices. So right off, we come into Domain View, where we see all of our devices under our TRC New domain. And we have two devices that are installed. We have our TRC New lab device, which is our New Orleans lab, and then we have a TRC SA, which is our San Antonio lab, so we can access both devices. When we first come to remote access, we see a few things here on the screen. To the left, we see just some information about that device that we can expand and view. We can see permissions. So basically in FactoryTalk Hub, we have the ability to create users, assign them to our organization, and then give permissions and privileges to those individual users. So not every user inside of our FactoryTalk Hub organization can have access to the remote access piece. We can control who can remotely connect and not. We can view our entitlements, and we also see some settings for firewalls and routing rules. Over to the right, to the left, underneath Explorer, we can view our devices in our kind of device view. We can view them on the map where they are. We can look at various audit trails, such as who has made remote connections and what operations did those individuals do. We can also see some various settings and tools, which are links to allow us to download some of the tools we need to make our remote connections, as well as a log file. So back on domain, I'm going to go to devices, click on TRC New, and now we have the ability to make our connection. We have two options here, two big blue buttons at the top. One is interactive access with tools, or one is VPN. There is a third option that if you come to this blue button, that we can see interactive access web only. The web only will basically open up our remote desktop in a web, in a tab here in our web browser. Whereas tools is going to open up a separate utility that I've already downloaded and installed on my computer. Just by clicking the interactive access tools, that would kind of mimic the basic entitlement where you can make a direct connection to the remote PC or remote device. If I click the VPN button, I will open up the tools as well as be able to make a VPN connection to all the devices on that remote network. Just to show, before I get connected here, I have RS Links open on my local computer. I am not in the office, not on the network, so I'm going to make a remote connection in. So I have no, at this moment, since I'm not on that network, all my devices are showing as unavailable with the red X's. So to make the connection, we're just simply press the blue VPN button. And we get a little warning here that just says, do you want to open the connection applet? And we will say yes. Another thing popped up here that just says that if you don't have the remote access tools already installed and downloaded, then you can click that link and do so. So here on my local computer, I do have an app that is being used to make the interface for the remote connection. And that is what this is, a separate application. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize my web browser just to show that this is a different program that is running. So when we first come in on the VPN, we're just showing some connection statistics here, seeing some of the data flow in milliseconds and just some of the information around the IP address of the demo wall, and that we have a good connection. But here in the left-hand side, we have a few other options that we can look at. One is the remote desktop. This will actually open up the remote desktop session right here in this window. So this is basically the desktop, the remote desktop of that awesome 6300p computer that is in the New Orleans demo room. So now that I'm here, I have full access of this desktop. I can interact with all of these applications that are currently open and running. We can also see that I have a IP camera going, so just to get a little video feed of what's happening in the room currently. So once I'm on this desktop, again, I can interact with it as if I'm standing there right in front of this computer. I can come into anything here as far as opening up other applications. I can go into the PC settings, I can go to the file system, I can delete files, I can install patches, do anything as if I'm standing in front of this computer out there in the field. So other things we can see real quick, on the left-hand side we have processes, which will show basically all of the running processes on the computer. It's essentially as if I would do a Control-Delete. But this allows me to not have to do Control-Delete. I can click on that and see everything that's running. And if I needed to, I can click on something and choose to end that process. So if something is hung up in that computer, I can remotely connect and end the process. Another nice feature is the File System Explorer. This allows me to look at what's on my local computer and send it to a folder on the remote device. Or I could take a file from the remote device and send it back to my local computer. So this is very useful if I want to send a program update, or if I want to send some kind of firmware patch or some kind of other install file. I can simply find it on my local computer by browsing all my folders, and then find the folder where I want to send it to and press the send button. The connection tab is where we kind of started. Information is just showing some basic information about this device itself. So the device, the computer name, its operating system, and so even some information about the CPU and the available memory and disk space. And lastly, there is a log file that we can just review if need be. Now back on the remote desktop, I wanted to show that this again is running the remote desktop through this remote access kind of connection device. But since I did choose VPN, if I go back to my RS links that I was running on my computer, we can see now that we have no red X's. We are basically made a VPN connection directly to that remote network that's there on my demo wall. So at this point, I have two options available to me to troubleshoot and maintain my remote devices. One, I could use my computer. The software and programs are installed on my local computer here where I'm working currently. I can open up RS links and I can see everything. So if I wanted to, I could open up Studio 5000. I can open up CCW. I can open up any of the software tools on my local computer and make a VPN connection to those devices there remotely. So if I wanted to troubleshoot the ControlLogix program, open up Studio 5000, open the project, connect to that controller, and view what's going on with it, and make changes if I had to. Or if I wanted to come back to the desktop, I could come to Start. I can open up Studio 5000 right here because I do have it installed on this PC, and I can open up Studio 5000 here on the remote PC, open up the program on the remote PC and make connections, all on the remote PC. So if I didn't have the software on my computer, I can run it off the local computer, off the remote computer, or if I didn't have the software on the remote computer with the VPN, I can use my software on my local PC. One other thing to show is I am running Optics, and this is just a little demo application that we have on our wall, and this is just the native presentation engine. But being that I have a VPN connection going, I also have a web presentation engine on here. So if I come back to if I want to minimize this, if I go back to my Chrome browser, and if I were to type in the IP address of that remote PC, which is 10.0.0.199 and then port 8443, if I were to do that, well, now here on my local computer where I am currently working, I am able to view the web client or the web presentation engine of that Optics application. So I can see that application just like I'm sitting, there at the unit. So I have a few screens going, simple welcome, network, and location, which actually is going to pull up. This is a web browser, so it doesn't show here, but then our demo room temperatures. If I go back to my remote access piece, you can see that I am independently, this is a web connection, so it's a separate connection being made versus what's happening here locally on the unit. Now, just to show that we are, if we are connected, if I were to disconnect, if I just hit this X right here and it says, do you want to close the connection? Well, as soon as I do that, I do lose my remote server. It's now unreachable, and all my devices have gone back to unavailable with the red X's. So definitely, was making the connection there via the VPN, which is also kind of nice. If I were to go ahead and get reconnected, the remote connection here in my Optics web client will actually automatically reconnect once the VPN connection is made. Let's just take a moment, of course, to complete. So once we do that, there it is. It automatically refreshed. It didn't have to do it. So we're back up and running as far as our remote connection goes. So that's the power of remote access. This is using our industrial PC, our awesome 6300P panel PC. You, of course, can install the remote access endpoint on any PC. It doesn't have to be the Rockwell PC. And it comes available on certain other endpoint devices from Rockwell, such as the Optics panel, the Embedded Edge Compute module, as well as you can use the remote access appliance, the Stratix 4300. So just want to show what's possible with remote access. It's an easy way to be able to remotely access, monitor, maintain, troubleshoot, upgrade your remote devices out in the field.